Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy in 1451. Genoa, a bustling port city, was known for its maritime prowess and vibrant trade. Growing up in such an environment, Columbus was naturally drawn to the sea. He became a skilled sailor, mastering the art of navigation and learning the intricacies of sailing. His early voyages took him to various parts of the Mediterranean, where he gained valuable experience. He studied maps and learned about the world. Columbus was fascinated by the works of ancient geographers and the latest discoveries of his time. He spent countless hours poring over maps and charts, dreaming of uncharted territories. Columbus dreamed of sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. He believed that by doing so, he could find a new route to the riches of Asia, bypassing the long and perilous overland routes. At that time, Europeans wanted to find a faster trade route to Asia. The demand for spices, silks, and other exotic goods was immense, and merchants were eager to find more efficient ways to obtain them. Spices, silks, and other valuable goods came from the East. These items were highly prized in Europe, and their trade was a major economic driver. The journey by land was long and dangerous. Caravans had to traverse vast deserts and treacherous mountain paths, facing numerous hazards along the way. Columbus believed he could reach Asia by sailing west. His conviction was based on his studies and the belief that the Earth was much smaller than it actually is. This bold idea would eventually lead him to seek support for his ambitious voyage. Columbus's idea was controversial. At a time when the known world was limited to Europe, parts of Africa, and Asia, his proposal to reach the East by sailing west was met with skepticism and disbelief. Many people believed the Earth was flat. This belief was deeply rooted in medieval cosmology and ancient texts which depicted the world as a flat disk surrounded by an ocean. They feared ships would sail off the edge. Sailors and scholars alike were terrified of the unknown, imagining monstrous creatures and endless waterfalls at the world's edge. Columbus, however, was convinced the Earth was round. He spent years studying ancient maps and texts, and he believed that by sailing west he could find a new route to Asia. He calculated the distance to Asia based on his studies. Using ancient navigation tools and the latest maps, he estimated the journey would be shorter than the traditional route around Africa. Columbus sought funding for his voyage. He needed ships, crew, and supplies, and he turned to the courts of Europe for support. He first asked the King of Portugal, but his request was denied. The Portuguese court was not convinced of the feasibility of his plan and chose to invest in their own expeditions around Africa. After several attempts, Queen Isabella of Spain agreed to sponsor his expedition. She was intrigued by the potential for new trade routes and the promise of wealth and power for Spain. She saw the potential for Spain to gain wealth and power. The promise of new lands, resources, and the spread of Christianity were compelling reasons for her to take the risk. In August 1492, Columbus set sail from Spain with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The journey was long and arduous. The sailors faced storms, hunger, and fear of the unknown. Weeks turned into months. The crew grew restless and wanted to turn back. Columbus, however, remained determined. He promised his men rewards if they reached land. Finally, on October 12, 1492, after weeks of uncertainty and treacherous seas, the sailors' cries of "Land!" echoed across the deck. Their long and arduous journey had finally brought them to the shores of a new world. Columbus had reached an island in the Caribbean Sea which he named San Salvador. This marked the beginning of a new era of exploration and conquest, as Columbus believed he had found a new route to the riches of Asia. He explored the surrounding islands, meticulously charting their coastlines and marveling at the lush landscapes. Columbus was convinced that these lands were part of the East Indies, a belief that would shape his subsequent voyages. Columbus encountered the native people, whom he called Indians, based on his mistaken belief that he had reached the outskirts of India. These encounters were the first of many between Europeans and the indigenous populations of the Americas. He claimed the lands for Spain, planting the Spanish flag and asserting dominance over the newfound territories. Driven by tales of immense wealth, Columbus and his men searched tirelessly for gold and other riches, hoping to bring back treasures to Spain. He returned to Spain a hero, bringing news of his discoveries. Columbus was celebrated for his daring voyage, and his findings sparked a wave of excitement and further expeditions, forever changing the course of history.